Hello everybody, welcome to AIMS India's online live session, Biology, Nutrition, the Food Supplying System. In this video we are going to discuss about the nutrition and its basic concept. We all know that food is needed by all living organisms, and it is mainly for the growth and repair. There are several organisms need food for maintenance of the body temperature as well. A large variety of substances are taken as food, from single cellular organism like amoeba to the complex multicellular organisms like us, like human beings. So even within the human body, the cells require a wide variety of substances as food. The mode of acquiring food also varies from cell to cell and organism to organism. In your lower classes you have studied different organisms get their food by different ways. So let us recall. How do heterotrophs get their food? How do autotrophs get their food? Okay, let us proceed. Life process. Life process can be defined as the basic essential activities that are necessary to obtain or to maintain and continue life. These activities include the process like nutrition, transportation, reproduction, respiration, and excretion. Nutrition. It is a process in which organisms consume food to fulfill their requirements of energy. To fulfill the requirement of energy. As we know that energy is the capacity to do work. So every living organism try to get the energy. The kind of nutrition depends on the complexity of the organism and its nutritional needs. If more complex organism, its nutritional requirement is more. So modes of nutrition. It is of two main types. Autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. So we begin our lesson with a question. How do heterotrophs get their food? How do autotrophs get their food? So let us study about autotrophic and heterotrophic modes of nutrition and find out why most plants are called autotrophs. Autotrophic nutrition. So these organisms capable of synthesize their own food. They synthesize their own food by using solar energy. For example, green plants, algae, and some bacteria. Green plants, algae, and some bacteria, they synthesize their own food. That's why they are called autotrophs, and the nutrition is called autotrophic nutrition. Next, heterotrophic mode of nutrition. What is heterotrophic mode of nutrition? In heterotrophic mode of nutrition, organisms depend on other organisms for their food. It is further divided into several types based on the type of food and the mode of feeding. What are the different types? Saprotrophic nutrition, parasitic nutrition, holozoic nutrition. These are three basic types of heterotrophic nutrition. Let us study briefly. Saprotrophic nutrition. Here the organism obtain its food from dead organisms. For example, fungi, a bread mold, yeast, mushroom, and some bacteria. The different types of fungi, bread mold, yeast, mushrooms, and some bacteria. That's why they are called scavengers on the earth. They decompose the dead organisms, dead plants and animals. Such kind of nutrition is called saprotrophic, saprophytic, and saprozoic. It is of two types, saprophytic and saprozoic. Saprophytic means these fungi, yeast, mushroom, bacteria will come. Saprophytic is also called saprotrophic, whereas saprozoic means certain internal parasites like Entamoeba histolytica and some helminth parasites. They are saprozoic. The nutrition is. In these organisms, the digestive system will not be there. If it is there also, it's very simple. The parasitic nutrition. The parasite means dependent organism which lives on or inside other organisms. The organism in which the parasite lives is called host organism, and it obtains the food from it. For example, plant parasites, Cuscuta or Emerbel; animal parasites, ticks, lice, leeches. These are different types of parasites are there. Ectoparasites, endoparasites, like that. Holozoic nutrition. This is the most common type of nutrition in animals. The organism here, in the holozoic nutrition, the organism takes in the whole material directly without degrading them. After intake, it digests the food with digestive enzymes. For example, amoeba, paramecium, and higher animals including human beings come under which type of nutrition? Holozoic nutrition. Okay, children. Here, heterotrophic mode of nutrition. What are heterotrophic organisms? Organisms which cannot synthesize their own food are called heterotrophs, and the nutrition is called heterotrophic nutrition. It is divided into three main types: saprozoic or saprotrophic, parasitic, and holozoic. Okay, let us proceed. Nutrition in plants. Autotrophic nutrition in plants. We know that autotrophs are the organisms capable of using light energy to synthesize the chemical compounds, and they acquire nutrients like some minerals and water from the soil, as well as some gases from the air. They are capable of producing complex compounds called carbohydrates, proteins, lipids. From these very simple substances, they synthesize complex substances. So these compounds produced by them are utilized for providing energy to most of the living organisms and all plants and all the organisms. Energy to most of the living organisms and all animals including human beings also, the plants providing food material. That's why plants are called producers. Okay, let us study in detail about the nutrition in plants. Plants are autotrophic and fulfill their carbon and energy requirements through a process called photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is a process by which green plants using chlorophyll synthesize food in the form of glucose from the raw materials water and carbon dioxide in the presence of sunlight, and this process release oxygen as an end product. Okay, you can define photosynthesis in your own sentences. The process by which plants make their food is called photosynthesis. Several scientists have been working for the centuries to find out how plants carry out this process of photosynthesis, this life process. We know that among all life process, the process of photosynthesis makes plants the universal food providers. They are called producers, isn't it? You have studied about the photosynthesis in your lower classes, but here more details we are going to study. So this entire description is represented in the form of an equation, that is 6CO2 carbon dioxide and 12H2O water in the presence of sunlight or sun's energy, light energy, and chlorophyll converted into glucose, C6H12O6, glucose plus 6H2O water and 6O2 oxygen as an end product. Okay, so in the presence of sunlight or solar energy, green plant, that is the leaves containing chlorophyll, uses carbon dioxide and water and produce the glucose or starch. This process release oxygen. This process is called as photosynthesis. The photochemical reaction during which the simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide, water, in the presence of light energy and chlorophyll converted into complex organic substances like glucose or starch is called photosynthesis. This process release oxygen or adds oxygen to the atmosphere. So that's why photosynthesis is the basic life process, which is most important life process, which add oxygen to the atmosphere and makes the life possible, and also provides the food for entire living organisms on this earth. And not only that, even several fuels are also produced as a byproducts of photosynthesis. Okay, let us study in detail. Photosynthesis. Let us study briefly a history of photosynthesis. Children, please note the names of the scientists and their contribution towards our understanding of the concept photosynthesis. Okay, several scientists. The research on photosynthesis started early in the 16th century itself. In 1643, a scientist by name, you studied this in 7th class itself, John Baptist Van Helmont conducted experiments which led him to conclude that trees consumed water, not soil. He conducted interesting experiments. He observed the weight of the plant after several years, after becoming tree. He observed the weight of the plant increased, okay, and the quantity of the soil decreased, that water present in that soil is absorbed by the plant, okay, but not the soil, the minerals present in it. So later we will discuss this experiment in this video itself. Next, in 1744, another scientist by name Joseph Priestley discovered a gas dubbed or dephlogisticated air. He named it as dephlogisticated air by focusing solar rays or sunlight on mercuric oxide, HGO. So this gas was later named as oxygen. Okay, Joseph Priestley experiment reveals that oxygen is evolved during photosynthesis. Next, 1778, another scientist, John Ingenhousz, discovered that the plants emitted oxygen gas in light or in the presence of light, thereby initializing the concept of photosynthesis. Means the equation representing the release of oxygen, no? So John Ingenhousz also tried to prove that oxygen is evolved during photosynthesis. Next, another scientist in 1888, Theodore Wilhelm Engelmann. So these are the nouns you can pronounce, but try to remember the spellings. Theodore Wilhelm Engelmann discovered the effect of varying wavelengths of light. Wavelength. So whenever we discuss about the light, this wavelength come into discussion. So what he discovered is the effect of varying wavelengths of light on photosynthesis, and used this information to create an action spectrum or light spectrum, visible light. Okay, the equation is representing entire story of photosynthesis. What is that equation? 6CO2 plus 12H2O in the presence of light and chlorophyll gives rise to C6H12O6 plus 6H2O plus 6O2. So this entire equation representing the photosynthesis reaction. So several scientists worked over it, and they provided some proofs and evidences to understand the concept of photosynthesis. So John Baptist van Helmont, Joseph Priestley, John Ingenhousz, Wilhelm Engelmann, these are all the scientists. Some more scientists let us study about. Another scientist in 1931, Van Niel, he was the first worked on purple sulfur bacteria and found light plays a specific role in photosynthesis. Van Niel, he was the first person to work on the purple bacteria, sulfur bacteria, and found that light plays a specific role in photosynthesis. So actually, in place of H2O, H2S, hydrogen sulfide, and the energy produced by that hydrogen sulfide oxidation is used by that bacteria in synthesizing the food material. That kind of photosynthesis is called chemophotosynthesis, or they are called chemoautotrophs. In photosynthesis, oxygen is produced, but whereas here the Van Niel experiment, so oxygen is not released because the reactant is H2S, hydrogen sulfide. He itself, his his dealings or his experiments gave some strength to this equation. The 6CO2, carbon dioxide and water in the presence of light and chlorophyll produce sugar C6H12O6, and a small amount of metabolic water is released and oxygen is also produced during this reaction, photosynthesis. Next, another scientist in 1932, Robert Emerson and William Arnold, stated that photosynthesis occurs by hundreds of chloroplasts cooperating with each other. That is very important. A plant may not contain a single chloroplast. A leaf contains several chloroplasts. So these hundreds of chloroplasts linked to each other, cooperating with each other, and the process of photosynthesis performs. So that's the Emerson effect. In higher classes you are going to study. Next, finally, the confirmation in 1950, Melvin Kelvin, he traced the path of carbons in photosynthesis, thereby founding Kelvin cycle. He introduced a concept called Kelvin cycle. It is also called dark reaction, or it is also called carbon fixation reaction. Carbon fixation reaction. Further we are going to discuss. So actually this photosynthesis occurs in two phases. One is light phase and another one is dark phase. The dark phase was explained by Melvin Kelvin. Okay children, the scientists contributed their knowledge. So Van Niel worked on purple bacteria, and later after him, after Van Niel, another scientist by name Robert Hill. Robert Hill, he also proved that, showed that oxygen is released from, actually the oxygen which is produced or released during photosynthesis, that is from water. Okay, then the equation was modified. So actually first general equation was given, CO2 plus 2H2O in the presence of light and chlorophyll gives rise to CH2O plus H2O plus O2. That is the general equation of photosynthesis, but that was modified by Robert Hill, this equation. This is well accepted equation, or in some books in chemistry the equation for photosynthesis 6CO2 plus 6H2O will be given, and in the products C6H12O6, this 6H2O may not be there, only 6O2 plus 6O2 is given. Okay, whatever it may be, this is the complete equation of photosynthesis, which is representing the total biochemical reaction. Okay children, let us understand the concept of photosynthesis with the help of several activities. The photosynthesis reaction can be confirmed whether the reaction occurred or not by several experiments, that is starch test, release of oxygen, necessity of light, necessity of chlorophyll. Those experiments can be studied in the form of activity. So photosynthesis, the activity 1, presence of starch in leaves. Presence of starch in leaves. So this experiment in your textbook also it is clearly given. The same picture I have taken here. So let us take a leaf from a plant, and we can select such a leaf that has a soft thin leaf. You have to select so that easy to perform the experiment. The leaf which is exposed to sunlight from morning to evening time, you have to do this experiment, because throughout morning the photosynthesis reaction takes place. So select a leaf and arrange the apparatus like this. So a boiling water beaker, and a boiling tube also containing some chemical methylated spirit, and asbestos gauge, tripod stand, and Bunsen burner. So stand, tripod stand, and asbestos gauge, so that it can absorb heat very fast. So Bunsen burner. So beaker containing water, and a test tube containing methylated spirit. Inside the test tube you have to insert the leaf and start boiling. Okay, boil the leaf in methylated spirit over a water bath, and it becomes, until it becomes pale white. Means what we are doing here is, we are removing the chlorophyll, okay, the pigment, green color. Until it becomes white, you have to boil it. Take the leaf carefully from the test tube by using a brush, and spread the leaf in a petri dish. Here, this is the petri dish or a glass, watch glass. Then add few drops of tincture iodine solution, or tincture iodine, or we can also use betadine solution. So what you see, then you observe. Now the leaf has green, it has turned into white color after this boiling. Then now, after adding this tincture iodine or betadine solution, few drops, 1 or 2 drops, then you will find the change in the color. The presence of starch will be indicated by a blue black color. Okay, the leaf turns blue black color. So this is the experiment which indicates the product of photosynthesis. The product formed in photosynthesis is starch. Okay, as soon as the photosynthesis reaction completed in the leaf, that glucose is converted into starch. This one, the starch is a complex carbohydrate or a polysaccharide. So this is transported to different parts of the plant. Okay, so as you studied in your lower classes, the plant conductive tissues are xylem and phloem. The xylem brings water and minerals to the site of photosynthesis, and after the completion of photosynthesis reaction, the starch or food material is transported to various parts of the plant by phloem tissue. Okay, so this equation tells that the photosynthesis reaction forms the starch as the product. It is a specific reagent. Iodine is the specific reagent to test the presence of starch. If it turns blue color, deep blue color, then only the experiment is positive. If it is not turning blue, so you can conduct this experiment with the different leaves and confirm the photosynthesis reaction. So next, water and photosynthesis. Van Helmont found that water was essential for the increase of plant mass. So he conducted one experiment. How do plants get their food? So he has taken a potted plant. Initially he took the weight of this plant. It is around 90.72 kg of soil is present, and here after few 5 years, after 5 years, he mentioned the soil weight is decreased 90.20 kgs here. Okay, in 17th century, this man Van Helmont conducted the experiment. He conducted an experiment. The setup is given above. The experiment in which he planted a willow plant. Willow sapling means small plant in a weighed soil. The soil was watered. He has added only water, no other supplements. Okay, soil was watered, but nothing else was added. So after 5 years, the tree had gained 74 kgs in weight, but the soil had lost only 52 grams. Only 52 grams. The Van Helmont concluded that the tree had made 74 kg of new growth from water alone. So what was the finding of this Van Helmont? He found that water was essential for the increase of plant mass. Okay, so he provided a proof by conducting an experiment taking willow plant. Okay, next, so Van Helmont experiment focusing on how he concluded that water was important for plant growth and increase in body mass of the plant. Next, Joseph Priestley in 1770 performed a series of experiments that revealed the essential role of air on the growth of green plants. So Priestley hypothesized as follows: the plants restore air, what breathing animals and burning candles remove. Okay, so here he conducted a simple experiment. He took a bell jar, a rat and a candle and a potted plant. So first step, he put a candle and a rat inside a bell jar. He conducted this experiment actually after his experiment only in 1774. The name oxygen was coined by Lavoisier after him. He mentioned that some gas is supporting the burning of candle and the life of that rat, but he didn't mention about the oxygen. But oxygen was discovered by Lavoisier in 1774. Coined the name given in 1775. Okay, so here when he put a candle and a rat, after some time the candle was put off and the rat was dead, because the gas released by this rat may be putting off this candle. The candle is burned due to that oxygen present in that bell jar for some time. Later it was put off. But here in this in the second attempt or in the third attempt, the third step, let us assume 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C, D. Okay, in the step 3, what he has done, he put a plant inside the bell jar. So the time duration, the candle burned for more time and the animal, this rat was also alive for more time. What does it indicate? As the plant is releasing some gas which is helpful in burning, and that gas is useful for this animal for respiration, it has survived for some time. Okay, so what was the hypothesis of this Joseph Priestley? Plants restore air, what breathing animals? Means animals are breathing oxygen, so plants restore, plants are adding oxygen, and burning candles remove. The burning candle, what is it consuming? Oxygen, and it is burning, so it is removing. So this was confirmed by Joseph Priestley. Okay, so the Priestley's experiment confirmed that the gaseous exchange was going on, and the plants were giving out a gas that supported burning and was essential for the survival of the animal. Okay, so this is another experiment conducted by Joseph Priestley. Carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. It is the activity 2. So another scientist by name Mohl, he demonstrated it by his half-leaf experiment. A part of leaf was enclosed in a test tube containing some potassium hydroxide soaked cotton, which absorbs the carbon dioxide, while the other half of the leaf was exposed to air. When the two halves of leaf were tested for starch, then it was found that only the part which is exposed to sunlight and which is exposed outside, or which is outside the test tube, was tested positive for starch. Okay, so here this is the experiment. So he has de-starched the plant before conducting the starch experiment. Here what he has done, he kept the plant in a dark for 2-3 days so that there is no starch in the leaves. De-starched plant he has taken, and he put a cotton wool soaked in lime water here, so that whatever the carbon dioxide is present inside this conical flask is absorbed. Okay, and to observe any carbon dioxide diffusing from the atmosphere. Then control leaf is, this is the control leaf, and no carbon dioxide inside the this conical flask, and the potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide, some alkali is kept inside this, so that if any carbon dioxide is there, it absorbs. So this is the control leaf, means for this leaf everything is available, carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, everything is available. And he performed the test. This is one type of arrangement. And here half leaf experiment like this, through split cork, half of the leaf is inside, half of the leaf is outside, water is provided, and the experiment was conducted, entire setup kept in the sunlight. So after a few hours, 2 to 3 hours, if the experiment is conducted, starch experiment, the leaf which is present outside, it turned blue, deep blue color. The leaf which is inside stay green only, because no photosynthesis here. The photosynthesis occurred here because carbon dioxide is available to this portion. The carbon dioxide is available to this portion. Okay, this is the experiment, half leaf experiment. This proves that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. Okay children, let us discuss the questions today. The oxygen in photosynthesis is released from carbohydrate, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide, water. What is the right answer? Water. Okay, D is the right answer. Next, the function of leaf in a plant is respiration, transpiration, photosynthesis, all of the above. So leaf is a special organ in the plant which performs all these functions: respiration, transpiration, and photosynthesis, all of the above. Next, for photosynthesis, green plants require chlorophyll, light, carbon dioxide, and water, all the above. So for photosynthesis, what are the requirement? All the above. Equation you have to remember: 6CO2 plus 12H2O gives rise to C6H12O6 plus 6O2 plus 6H2O. Okay. Next, photosynthesis is a dash process: catabolic process, anabolic process, exothermic process, metabolic process. Anabolic process, constructive process. Here simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water are converting into complex organic substances like glucose or starch. So constructive process, anabolic process. Next, name the external factors that affect photosynthesis process. Light intensity, carbon dioxide concentration, temperature. All of the above. So external factors means the factors which are available from outside. Okay, light is available from the atmosphere, carbon dioxide is available from the atmosphere, temperature also from the atmosphere. Which of the following is the correct equation for photosynthesis? CO2 plus light plus H2O gives rise to oxygen and sugar. Carbon dioxide, sugar, water gives rise to oxygen and light. So you have to study the equation correctly. So though it is not a balanced equation, so here reactants and products you have to check. So what is the correct answer? Carbon dioxide, water in the presence of light produce sugar and oxygen. So this is a skeleton equation. Okay. Next, which gas is removed from the atmosphere during photosynthesis? Which gas is used? Removed means used. So obviously, what is the right answer? Carbon dioxide. Which organelle from the plant cell is primarily responsible for converting sunlight to energy? So in which organelle the photosynthesis takes place? Nucleus, vacuole, mitochondria or chloroplast? Which one? Yes, chloroplast. So here this diagram is representing a plant cell. So 4 organelles are given here. So in this organelle the process of photosynthesis takes place. Chloroplast. D is the correct answer. What is produced as a result of photosynthesis? Glucose plus oxygen, glucose, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide and water. Water and light. What is produced? Equation is given here. Hint. So glucose and oxygen. Last question. What are the organisms that use sunlight or inorganic substance to make organic compounds called? Decomposers, heterotrophs, autotrophs, parasites. What are they? From inorganic, organic substances are produced. Autotrophs. Okay, we are going to discuss more about this photosynthesis in the further classes. So please read the textbook if it is available. If not, you can watch the video repeatedly in offline also. Okay. So which colors of light are the most effective for photosynthesis? So scientists conducted experiments and revealed that in red and blue light, this is the visible spectrum, the wavelength is mentioned in nanometers. 400 to 700 nanometers, this is the visible region. This light is used for photosynthesis, among which the red and blue light is most effective for photosynthesis. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our channel to get latest updates.